Okay, so let's just dive right in. Every single day, we trust the cloud with our most personal stuff, our photos, our private messages, our work. But have you ever stopped to think about what that trust is actually built on? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really complex document that is, believe it or not, the hidden blueprint for the security of those services we use all the time.
So imagine for a second that this lands on your desk. It looks super official, kind of dense, maybe a little intimidating, right? It's the kind of thing most of us would probably just slide to the corner of our desk and forget about. But we really shouldn't.
Because buried inside all that technical language are the rules that actually govern the safety of your entire digital life. So the real question is, what's a document like this actually doing for you?
All right, let's give our mystery document its proper name. It's CAN/CSA/ISO/IEC 27036-4-18. Yeah, it's a mouthful. It sounds incredibly complicated, and that is exactly why we're going to break it down piece by piece.
So what is it? Well, at its heart, it's basically a rulebook. It's the national standard of Canada, and it lays out the guidelines for how to keep cloud services secure. Basically, think of it like this. It's a set of best practices, the stuff everyone in the industry can look at and say, yep, this makes sense, this is how we should do it.
But why do we even need a rulebook like this in the first place? Well, it all comes down to one really big fundamental problem of our digital age: trust. I mean, when you upload a file, how do you really know it's safe?
See, every time you use the cloud, there are two main players. On one side, you've got the cloud service customer. That's you. That's me, any company using a cloud service. And on the other side, there's the cloud service provider, the company that actually owns all the servers and runs the whole show.
And this is right where the problem can start. Without a shared set of rules, a common language really, how do you know what a provider is really doing to protect your data? And how can a provider prove they're doing a good job? It's that gap, that potential for confusion and risk, that this whole standard is designed to fix.
So if we need these rules, who actually gets to write them? Well, it's not just one company or some government agency calling all the shots. It's actually this massive collaborative effort. You can think of them as the architects of our digital trust.
It all kicks off on a global scale with huge organizations like ISO, that's the International Organization for Standardization, and the IEC. These are the folks who create the international playbook, the very foundation that all these standards are built on.
Then, that global standard gets brought home. It gets adopted at the national level. And here in Canada, that's where the CSA group comes in. They take that global framework and publish it as a national standard, which makes it totally relevant and useful right here.
And here's a really crucial point. These standards aren't just forced on everybody from the top down. They work because they represent a national consensus. What that means is the folks making the services and the people using the services, from the biggest tech giants all the way to small businesses, they all get together and agree on what's fair and what's safe.
And get this agreement, it's reached by a huge group of volunteer experts, people who give their time to get this right. For this specific document, it was reviewed by the CSA Technical Committee on Information Technology, which is made up of specialists from all over the industry.
So we know who writes it, and we know why. But what does this blueprint for trust actually, do? What's inside this thing?
So what's its job? Officially, its scope is to provide guidance for managing information security risks. In plain English, it helps everyone, customers and providers, figure out what could go wrong, like a data breach, and gives them a structured playbook for how to handle it. And here's a really cool idea: seamless linkage. Think about it. The app you use to store photos might be running on servers from a huge cloud provider, and that provider might be using specialized tech from another provider. It's a whole supply chain. This standard makes sure that security doesn't get dropped between the links. It's all about creating this unbroken chain of trust from the top all the way down to you.
And this blueprint, it gives a complete roadmap for the entire journey your data takes in the cloud. It starts with the acquisition process. Think of it like a checklist for a company to check out a provider and ask all the right security questions before they sign anything. Then you've got planning and operation, which cover the day-to-day security stuff. And this is so important. It even covers the disposal process. What happens when you delete a file? This standard gives guidelines to make sure your data is actually truly gone. It's a full circle approach to security.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We've gone through the technical stuff, but why should you care about some document like this in your daily life?
I mean, just think about this number for a second.
Over 7,000 volunteers helped develop CSA Group standards. That is a ton of collective brainpower, all working behind the scenes just to build a digital world that we can actually count on.
And that's really the bottom line here. A standard like this, it isn't just for the tech companies. It builds a foundation of accountability and transparency. It gives us, the customers, a real reason to believe that when a company says our data is secure, they're actually following an agreed-upon rulebook to make it so.
So the next time you save a photo or send an email, just remember the cloud isn't magic. It's a whole ecosystem built on trust, and that trust is supported by these incredibly detailed, collaborative blueprints. So the real question is, knowing all this, knowing this hidden framework exists, does it make you see that digital world just a little bit differently?